Microplastics have infiltrated every corner of our planet, from the deepest ocean trenches to the food on our plates. These tiny plastic particles, less than 5 millimeters in size, are increasingly finding their way into the food chain, raising significant concerns about their impact on human health and the environment. Recent studies indicate that microplastics can be found in seafood, fruits, vegetables, and even drinking water. As consumers, we must understand how microplastics enter our food, the potential health risks they pose, and what steps we can take to minimize our exposure. In this article, we'll explore these issues and offer practical tips to help you avoid microplastics in your diet. Let's start by understanding what microplastics are and how they become a part of our food. Make sure to stay until the end to find out all the best information, and remember, at Beyond Living, we provide the best information and actionable and functional guides for all facets of healthy living, vitality, and fitness. Also, check out the awesome products that are running exclusive, limited-time deals just for our viewers here at Beyond Living in the description and in the top pinned comments that we recommend for all our viewers for vitality, healthy living, and fitness. Like, comment, and subscribe as it greatly helps the channel. Microplastics are a pervasive form of environmental pollution, comprising tiny plastic particles measuring less than 5 millimeters in size. These particles originate from a variety of sources, including the breakdown of larger plastic items, synthetic fibers from textiles, and plastic microbeads used in personal care products. As plastics degrade over time, they fragment into smaller pieces, contributing to the proliferation of microplastics in our environment. What makes microplastics particularly concerning is their ability to persist in ecosystems, escaping traditional waste management and filtering processes. Because of their small size, microplastics are easily transported by wind and water, allowing them to disperse across vast distances. This widespread distribution means that they can accumulate in various ecosystems, including oceans, rivers, and soil. Microplastics enter the food chain when animals ingest them, mistaking them for food. Marine life is especially vulnerable, with fish, shellfish, and other sea creatures ingesting microplastics from the water or consuming prey that has been contaminated. On land, microplastics can infiltrate soil through agricultural processes, such as the use of contaminated fertilizers or irrigation with polluted water. The presence of microplastics in the food chain raises significant concerns about their impact on human health. As we move forward, we'll explore the pathways through which microplastics enter our food and discuss the potential health risks associated with their consumption. Understanding these sources is the first step toward minimizing exposure and promoting safer food practices. Now let's discuss the health risks of microplastics. The health risks of microplastics in food are a growing concern, largely because of the unknown long-term effects and the increasing evidence of their presence in our diets. Although research is ongoing, several potential risks have been identified that suggest a need for caution. One of the primary concerns is that microplastics can leach harmful chemicals into the food and water they contaminate. Plastics often contain additives such as phthalate, bisphenol A, BPA, and other substances that can disrupt hormones and cause other health issues. When microplastics break down or come into contact with food, these chemicals can leach out, leading to potential exposure for humans. Another concern is bioaccumulation, the process by which contaminants build up in organisms over time. Microplastics can accumulate in marine life, which, in turn, can enter the human food chain when we consume seafood. This bioaccumulation raises questions about the long-term effects on human health, including the potential for inflammatory responses, organ damage, or disruptions to the endocrine system. Additionally, microplastics' small size and irregular shapes may allow them to penetrate biological barriers, such as the gastrointestinal tract, leading to systemic distribution in the body. Although the exact impact of this on human health is not yet fully understood, some studies suggest that microplastics could cause inflammation or other negative reactions at the cellular level. Given these potential risks, it is essential to continue researching the effects of microplastics on human health and take steps to reduce their presence in the food chain. In the following sections, we'll discuss how to reduce exposure to microplastics in food and what regulatory measures are being taken to address this issue. Reducing exposure to microplastics in food is an essential step for those concerned about their potential health risks. While it might be impossible to eliminate microplastics from our environment entirely, there are several practical steps you can take to minimize your intake. One of the most effective ways to reduce microplastic exposure is to choose fresh, whole foods over processed ones. Processed foods often come in plastic packaging, which can degrade and contaminate the contents with microplastics. Opting for whole foods like fruits, vegetables, and grains not only reduces your exposure to plastics but also promotes a healthier diet. Another significant source of microplastics is seafood. Since microplastics accumulate in marine life, consider reducing your seafood consumption or choosing varieties that are less likely to be contaminated. Look for seafood sourced from cleaner waters or sustainable fisheries with rigorous safety standards. Using glass or metal containers for food storage and drinking water is another practical way to limit exposure to microplastics. Plastic containers and bottles can release microplastics over time, especially when exposed to heat or acidic foods. Glass and stainless steel are safer alternatives that are also better for the environment. Filtering your drinking water can also help reduce microplastic exposure. Some water filters are designed to capture microplastics, providing a simple way to ensure your drinking water is clean. Be sure to choose a filter with a fine enough mesh to trap microplastics effectively. Finally, reducing plastic waste and supporting sustainability initiatives can make a broader impact. By cutting down on plastic use and supporting companies that prioritize environmentally friendly practices, you can help reduce the overall amount of microplastics entering our food chain. In the next section, we'll explore the role of regulations and industry practices in addressing microplastic contamination in our food. Addressing the issue of microplastic contamination in food requires more than individual action. It demands comprehensive regulations and industry-wide changes. Governments and organizations around the world are beginning to recognize the need for stronger policies to tackle plastic pollution, which could have a significant impact on microplastic contamination in our food. One key regulatory approach is to reduce plastic production at the source. By limiting single-use plastics and promoting reusable alternatives, governments can curb the amount of plastic waste that eventually breaks down into microplastics. Legislation that restricts or bans certain harmful chemicals in plastics, such as phthalate and bisphenol A, BPA, can also reduce the risk of harmful leaching into food and water supplies. Industry practices play a critical role as well. Food manufacturers and processors can adopt more sustainable methods, such as using biodegradable or recyclable packaging and ensuring that their processes do not contribute to microplastic contamination. Companies that invest in research and innovation to find alternatives to plastic packaging are leading the way toward a more sustainable future. Consumers can support these efforts by choosing products from companies with strong environmental commitments and advocating for stricter regulations on plastic production and waste management. Together, these measures can help reduce the presence of microplastics in our food and create a safer, cleaner environment for everyone. Microplastics in our food present a complex and concerning issue, but there are steps we can take to mitigate their impact. By choosing fresh, whole foods, using glass or metal containers, and filtering drinking water, we can reduce our exposure. Additionally, advocating for stronger regulations and supporting businesses that prioritize sustainability can drive broader change. While the full health risks of microplastics are still being studied, taking action now can help protect our well-being and the environment. Ultimately, reducing plastic waste and embracing more sustainable practices are key to ensuring our food is as safe and healthy as possible.